Do we still know who Jon Jones is as a heavyweight? Because I'm not sure we do.
We don't. I don't believe we do. Those weren't real tests. Those aren't. I'm not going to say you're. He can be the goat, but not the goat of heavyweight. I'm not going. Right now, the goat of heavyweight, even though he beat him, I still give it to Stipe because Stipe, like when he was at his brightest, like he was special. But that was also like what 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So if the only way for John to earn my respect, and I know he doesn't care about earning my respect, but the only way for me to be like, yeah, this dude's the heavyweight GOAT is for him to beat Aspinall. You gotta fight the best to be the best.
He is one of the top heavyweights in the sport. His fight actually just got moved to the pay-per-view, UFC 313 in March. It is always my great pleasure to catch up with Curtis Blaydes. Curtis, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. Obviously, lots to talk about. Can I just start with the fight moving? We just heard this news today. Your fight with Rizwan is moving to March 8th. Can you tell me what happened?
All I know is he got injured and they got rescheduled, and they asked me if I was all right with that, and I said yeah.
So not that doesn't disrupt you too much.
No, it's just work. I don't mind. Money's the same, opponent's the same. Just another week to work on my conditioning.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, being a part of a pay per view. I mean, obviously, I know the UFC Seattle card was great, but pay per view is always nice.
Yeah, a few more eyes, maybe get another sponsor out of it.
Exactly. So obviously, I don't think we've caught up since your last fight. Obviously, when this one got announced, I'll be honest. I was like, really? Like, it just kind of caught me off guard. Not because I think Rizwan's a bad fighter, but you're top 5 in the world, and he's not. So, like, when you got that name, did you do a double take and be like, who?
Yeah, I mean, I did, but like I always say, the money is the same regardless if it's Jon Jones or if it's a debut guy. Money's the same, so I'll always be down.
Yeah. Like, were you familiar with him at all? Like, did you literally have to go
No.
look him up?
Yeah, I had to Google him. I watched his fight on the Contender. That's really the only fight of his I watched. But yeah, he looks like your traditional heavyweight. Swings heavy and hopes to knock you out early.
Yeah. Now he's gotten some big wins on his record, but I'll tell you, Curtis, the way I remembered him when I heard the name, and I'm not trying to knock the guy, but he was one of the guys, I think it was last year, 2 years ago at the PFL when they had all those drug test failures. And I remembered him. I remembered him specifically because he had tested for like 4 steroids. Like, it was wild. Do you like? I listen. UFC does testing, and I think they're pretty good about it. But like, when you hear that, do you ever have just a little bit of concern in your head? Like, yeah, this guy. Like, I think it was like 4 anabolic steroids he got busted with.
I mean, I heard about that also. Who knows? That might be a part of this. Like maybe he has to get it out of his system. But I'd heard about rumors like that about Almeida, and I mean, he is very, very strong, and he did have skills, but roids, they're not going to be the difference, and it's not enough. So even if he is on some stuff, I don't believe it's going to help him with his sprawling or help him take a punch. So I'm all right with it, even if he is on some stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious because, like, on one side, when this matchup got announced, I was like, well, there's no such thing as an easy fight, but like, again, you fought the absolute best in the world. I'm like, hey, man, they're going to pay you big money to go out and beat this new guy. Go ahead and do it. But there's also the flip side, which is, listen, upsets happen. So I imagine like there's got to be two sides of your brain. Like, you should beat this guy, but you can't take him lightly.
No, it's heavyweight, and I think that's one of the benefits of coming up through wrestling. Like I've been in this position before where I was a junior in high school, highly ranked, like number 4 in the state. Got some unknown dude. I went out there, messing around with him, took him down a few times, let him up. I'm playing with my food, so to speak, and then get hit with a headlock. And I got pinned by some unknown, unranked heavyweight. And after that, I've never approached anything athletic like, oh, this dude's a bum. He's here for a reason. He must have some type of skill. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna not approach him with the respect that he deserves. Like he deserves. He's here. He's in the UFC. They're not bringing in like unskilled heavyweights. So I'm approaching it as if he has the ability to beat me, which he does. This is heavyweight. It only takes one sloppy haymaker and lights out.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because you do hear a lot of guys after a loss say, "Man, I underestimated him. I didn't think he was that good." You going through it in high school, like you went through it years ago, so it kind of gave you the wake up call as a teenager to say, "I can't mess around."
Yeah, because it feels worse when you lose to someone. You're like, how did that even happen? Like all my losses, I can stand up and hold my head high because I'm like, hey, it's heavyweight. Like Ngannou both times, Derek Lewis and Pavlovich. That's just gonna happen in heavyweight. But I don't see this guy having that type of power. But I am going to enter with the respect of like it's heavyweight and we all hit hard.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you said it. You've not dealt with losses very often in your career, and you always seem to bounce back. I know we've talked a lot coming out of Derek Lewis fight. Like you just, you zigged when you should have zagged, and you said 99 times out of 100 you win that fight. Can I ask, coming out of the Tom Aspinall fight? I mean, listen, it went a minute. That's heavyweight. I don't know, like. Do you take anything away from a fight like that? Like, can you take away anything like that? Because it's just that's just the nature of heavyweight, right? Like,
yeah, it's just heavyweight. It's like, and those are easier to bounce back from for me mentally. Like if a guy just like beat me up for 15 or 25 minutes, that's when it would be hard for you to like, am I even supposed to be doing this anymore? But when you get beat, like I've been beaten, it's like, especially heavyweight, sometimes you just get hit on the button and that's all it takes, and it's not like a skill issue. I don't believe Tom's more skilled than me. I don't believe Sergey, Eric, and Gano. I don't believe any of those guys are more skilled than me. I just believe that they showed up in the moment and I didn't.
I think it's funny because we talk a lot, Curtis. I think the only one that's ever really bugged you was the Derek Lewis one, because you were winning, and that was just that one moment.
That one.
You look at any of the other fights, it's just you got caught.
Yeah, the Derek Lewis one, that one. But again, I learned a bit lesson because I started to relax. Like in that first round, I was just like, I gotta move. I can't let him hit me. And then after a round of being in there, like, oh, he hasn't really hit me. And then I relaxed and made the mistake.
Yeah. So let me ask you, like, coming out of that, I mean, obviously you could have fought anybody. Were you, in terms of like timing, that was last year coming in this year, did you want to fight sooner? Did you want to take a little time off after that before you booked your next one? Because everyone's a little different. And I know the UFC schedule, sometimes you don't have a choice.
No, I was really in a perfect world. I was hoping to get Gane after he beat Volkov. So I was hoping to get that one. But then we learned he broke his toe, or he broke something on a bone, so we knew he'd be out. And when the UFC offered me this, I didn't have to take it, but like it's a paycheck, so
yeah. It's kind of weird. Like I feel like we say this. I feel like we have some version of this conversation every time we talk, Curtis. But it's like heavyweight is once again in a very weird spot, because you look at, like, a lot of people didn't think Ciryl Gane deserved to beat Volkov. I actually thought Volkov deserved to win that night. Yeah. You look at this fight with like Sergey coming back out here. That was not a great fight with Rosenstrike. That was not. So it's like we're back in this weird position again, where it's like, what is going on at heavyweight?
That was a weird, that Sergey Jarginio fight reminded me a lot of Eric Lewis versus Ngannou. Like, where it's just like both guys have so much respect for one another's power. Nobody wants to enter, but someone has to enter. And yeah.
100%, 100%. One thing, one thing I always like talking to you because I do think you have a great mind for the sport. I know we talked several times about Jon fighting Stipe. Fight ended up going the way a lot of people thought it would. Unfortunately, just at that moment, you kind of see where Stipe the age and the time off. It just seemed like it really did catch up to him. And Jon
Yeah.
beat him. Were you because I know, I think you and I both said like a good Stipe, a great Stipe can give Jon problems, but unfortunately I think his best days were just kind of behind him. Is that kind of how you felt when you watched that fight?
Yeah, exactly. Like that wasn't the Stipe that beat Alistair, that beat Verdun, that beat all these other great heavyweights. I was a man like with one foot in retirement, the other one out, and that's okay. Like I'm not no shade to Stipe. He's a Hall of Famer. He's had an amazing career. I don't think he should hold his head down at all. Like you got beat by Jon Jones. It is what it is. It's okay.
I'm curious because I know we've talked about Jon before. We're two fights in. Ciryl Gane and Steven Miocic. Ciryl Gane, I think we've said many times, probably not the strongest grappler in the world. I think that's the nice way of saying it. And then Stipe, 43, off several years off. Do we still know who Jon Jones is as a heavyweight? Because I'm not sure we do.
No, we don't. I don't believe we do. Those weren't real tests. Those aren't. I'm not going to say he can be the GOAT, but not the GOAT of heavyweight. I'm not going to. Right now, the GOAT of heavyweight, even though he beat him, I still give it to Stipe. Because Stipe, like, when he was at his brightest, like, he was special. But that was also, like, what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? So if the only way for Jon to earn my respect, and I know he doesn't care about earning my respect, but the only way for me to be like, yeah, this dude's the heavyweight GOAT is for him to beat Aspinall. You gotta fight the best to be the best.
Yeah, I don't. You just said it. And you're absolutely right. There's no reason to speculate, but I mean, I think we all know that's the one that everyone wants. And this idea that Jon is afraid of Tom, I think that's ridiculous. I
I don't
mean,
think he's scared. No.
yeah, like and I hope that listen, it's going to come down to money. You and I both know that's going to come down to money, and I hope they do pay Jon what he wants. Because listen, it's a massive fight. But you obviously have spent a couple training camps getting ready for Aspinall. Do you see Aspinall as a guy that could give Jon a lot of problems?
Yeah, he's very fast. He's very athletic. He hits hard enough, and he's actually like a smart heavyweight. He's not just out there just hucking and moving. He's like setting things up. He understands footwork. He understands how to set up a takedown. He's not. One thing I noticed with Jon, this is a bonus to him. He takes advantage of like easy stuff. Like if you allow him to get a layup over and over and over, he'll take the layup. It's there hasn't been anyone in a while that's forced him to like do something else besides taking the easy low hanging fruit. I think Tom's athleticism would negate a lot of like the easy stuff, and I would force Jon to open. The last time we saw Jon have to open up was probably with Dom Reyes. That was the last time we saw somebody who was able to take away the easy stuff because he gave him a different look. He came out in this southpaw and he's blasting those head kicks from open stance. That's what it's going to take, and I think Aspinall. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and be in southpaw, but he presents different issues that take away the easy stuff. And I think that's really the key is because it's heavyweight. You don't have to do a whole lot of stuff to get the knockout. I think if he can force Jon to stand and play his game in the middle of the octagon, it's anyone's fight. Like I said, it's heavyweight. Whoever's able to land first. And I don't know if Jon has heavyweight power. We haven't been able to really see that. And I think even when he was a light heavyweight, I don't remember him ever like just being able to start your guy with one punch. It's always been like a bunch of hits. So I think that'll be the difference. I don't think Jon has heavyweight power, and I do believe Aspinall does.
Yeah, it's funny because back when they were talking about Francis fighting Jon, I said, "Listen, Jon is." You could say it. I mean, I do believe he's the GOAT of the sport, but you could argue like the most skilled guy. I'd say him and like Demetrius Johnson are probably the two most skilled guys I've ever seen compete. But the X factor when he was gonna fight Ngannou was it's just one shot, one glancing blow,
Yeah.
it's over, and it kind of feels the same. Like, of course, Jon's great, no one's going to deny that, but Aspinall again, he's a monster. He hits hard. He's very big, very athletic for a heavyweight. So that's not a gimme. That's not a fight where I'm like, yeah, Jon's going to win. Like, okay, Jon's going to win. Like, this is one where it actually makes me doubt Jon winning, and I think that's kind of what we all want, right? Like, we want to doubt a guy that's going to win.
Yeah, I think, and that's why I fully believe like it will happen because for Jon, you're gonna turn down like who knows how much they're offering, but I'm sure they're offering him a few million, and you're gonna turn down a few million to do what? Like if you don't fight Aspinall, what do? Retire? I mean, that's always an option, but I'm like, he doesn't seem old. He doesn't seem slow. So why not just take the money and defend your title?
Yeah, and if you're Aspinall, you're in a tough spot because if it's not Jon, who else are you supposed to fight? Like, is anyone going to get excited about him fighting Gane? Not me. I keep sounding like I'm knocking Gane, but I mean, I just don't like that. That's not a compelling fight to me.
It's not unless you're British or you're French. I know they have that beef going on, but as an American, nah, I'm not really all that interested in that fight. But I could see that happening also if Jon just doesn't take the fight. That's why I hate speculation because it's just like it could go so many ways. But the way we all want, it would just be easier if Jon was just like, yeah, I'm gonna fight Tom International Fight Week. Boom, it's happening. I don't understand the holdup because, like I said, I'm sure they're offering him a lot of money. So I'm like, I don't know what else. What else can you offer him besides maybe a partnership in the actual UFC to get him to take the fight? And I don't know the rules. Like, would they be able to strip Jon if he was just like, no, I'm not gonna fight Aspinall? I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I've said for a while now, I actually think it's going to happen because I think they're going to pay him. And listen, I mean, let's be honest, I think it's the biggest fight we could have in the sport right now with Conor gone and some of the other guys kind of in limbo right now. I think it's a massive fight. And I think Jon gets up for like when people tell him he can't do something or he's going to lose, or I think that, and so I believe now will it happen in July or whatever? I don't know, but I do. I don't. And Dana sounding so confident and like it's going to happen. I feel like they're going to lay down the money. I think we are going to see it this year.
Man, I hope so. Like you said, that would be one of the biggest fights in the UFC in years. And Jon's getting older, so there's only so many more squeezes in that orange before it's dry. So you might as well get it while it's hot.
Yeah, and I know we talk about this a lot, Curtis, and I almost hate asking you or talking to you about it because it just seems like repetitive. But obviously, you being a top 5 guy, you're never going to be far away from that title race. And I know, obviously, you've had to fight with Aspinall in the past, but we look at the lay of the land at heavyweight. We just said like Ciryl Gane was coming off a couple losses, and then that fight with Jairzinho didn't exactly light the world on fire. Gane, most people didn't think he even beat Volkov, and then, Volkov's in a weird situation. So, I mean, again, I know Rizvan's not the biggest name in the world, but again, it's heavyweight. You go out there, and just like you did with Almeida, you go out there, you knock him out the way you did, got a lot of attention. You got to knock out this guy, you're going to get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if they offer me another title shot, I'm going to say yeah, but I don't see them offering me a title shot. Even if I go out there and lion armbar this guy, I don't think they're going to give me a title shot like immediately. But I'm available. Obviously, if they believe I earned it, I will step up and say yeah. Especially if there's a hold up with Jon, like, and I'm the only option. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Well, I think if everything goes well, and again, I never look past the guy in front of you because again, this is Rizvan's chance to make a name for himself, and you don't want to be that guy. But assuming you go out and beat him, I still think the Gane fight, like that's the one I've wanted for so long. I know you've wanted for
That's
so long. I just don't know. I don't know if he'd take it.
no. He has turned. I normally don't do this, but he has turned. I've heard this from my management speaking with Hunter, who does the contract negotiations for upper weights. He has turned me down 3 times over the past 4 years. I remember I asked for him originally in 21, and then they gave me Volkov, and then I wanted him again after that one, and then they gave me Derek Lewis, and then I've asked for him a few times because originally that was what I wanted after this one, after the Aspinall fight. I was like, okay, I guess I'll go for Gane. And then he ends up in there with Volkov. So I don't think we will ever fight,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It's one of those ones where like enough times it happens, you just kind of like got to move on and say, yeah, I just think it's never gonna happen. Even though people are calling for it, we all want to see it. It's like at some point you just have to move on and say, yeah, it's probably not gonna happen. It's unfortunate too, right? Like it's unfortunate that happens.
I mean, it is, but we understand why. If I go out there and I smash him, he loses a lot of marketability. Like the aura of like the Frenchman who does all the fancy stuff. If you see me go out there and just body slam him on his head like 4 or 5 times and elbow him into oblivion, that kind of removes the marketability. So I get it. It sucks because I think it would be a great fight for me. I think I get a guy like him. I beat him. Yeah, that should be enough to get another title shot. But beating the guy I'm about to fight right now, it's hard to say because he doesn't have any value as a name right now. Like, what's his name? I don't even know his name.
Rizvan Kuniev.
Rizvan Kuniev. Right now doesn't have a lot of name value. So
yeah, but you know what I appreciate about you, Curtis, though, is you never turn down, you never back down from a challenge. Like when your career's over, a couple years, whatever years from now, when you look back, you can say you never back down from a challenge because again, you didn't have to. I know it's a title shot, but you had to go to England to do it. You had to go to his backyard to do it. When they offered you, like when you couldn't get Gane, they said, "Hey, to fight Derek Lewis." Say, "Okay, give me Derek Lewis." When they say, "Hey, fight this unknown Russian guy who's coming in basically in his debut," you said do it. So again, at the end of the day, like when it's all said and done, whatever your career ends up being, you can look back 10, 15 years down and say, you know what? I never ducked anybody. I never turned down fights. I never pick and choose my opponents. I mean, there's some pride you got to take in that.
100%. That's a legacy I'll brag about. I won't brag about the names. I'll brag that I never said no. Never ever said no.
Yeah. Now, listen, Curtis, we always talk about this fight stuff, but can we talk about something really important? Because we're about to enter the offseason of the NFL. Season's over. I know you're a big Bears guy. I'm a big Bengals guy. Big offseason for both of us. Can I ask you, now that the season's over, what did you think of Caleb Williams in his first season?
I thought under the circumstances of having maybe the second or third worst offensive line in the league and having a horrible head coach and a horrible offensive coordinator that we had to fire them both like mid-season. I think under those circumstances, he did great. I give him an A. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're by. I give him an A. I watched every game, every snap. I saw the constant duress he was under, like immediately after snapping the ball, and he beat the Packers in Green Bay. We haven't done that since I was in high school, so I'm happy. I think he is the guy. I like that we were able to hire Ben Johnson. I think he's gonna revamp the whole offensive scheme. Like we're scrapping everything, and I think obviously it sucks that he has to learn a whole new scheme and language and all that. But I think in the long run, this will be one of the greatest decisions as an organization the Bears have ever made, hiring Ben Johnson.
I was listen again. I'm a Bengals guy, but that was the one I was like, if they go out and get anybody else, it's like you're not giving him the right guy. They
Yeah.
went and got Ben Johnson. That's the guy everyone wanted because he's going to develop and work with Caleb Williams. And I was like, good for the Bears organization. They went and got the guy everybody wanted. I was like, that to me that impressed me. The Bears went out and got him.
I was where had they not hired him, I think I would have officially just became a Broncos guy. I live here. Broncos aren't bad. They wear blue and orange. Like that was my mindset. If we'd hired anyone besides him or Mike Vrabel, I would have been out. But since they didn't, I'm still gonna be a Bears guy. I plan on going to watch a few of the preseason games, and I'm excited. I wasn't super excited like immediately after the season ended, but then once we got the news about Ben Johnson, that definitely helped. That definitely, and I hope as a Bengals guy, I hope the Bengals can figure out what to do with Higgins and Jamar. I think you're probably going to lose Higgins, but hopefully not. Maybe not.
Yeah, well, listen. The first year Joe Burrow was there, we went 4-11. He got his knee blown out. The next year we went to the Super Bowl. So I mean, it can turn around quick. And I think you guys got. I mean, you guys got an incredible team. And I said on Twitter today that because I saw somebody saying like, there's going to come a time where Joe Burrow is going to demand a trade if they don't put pieces around him. I said, I'm like you. I said the day Joe Burrow has to demand a trade because they won't sign people, I'm done. I was like, I've been a Bengals fan my entire life. If it gets to the point where Joe Burrow is like, I'm out, then I'm out. I'm done at that point. I'll find a new team.
How about this? I know this is random, but it's been on my mind all day. The Luka deal. Like, do you think something illegal went down between the Lakers and the Mavs? Because it doesn't make any sense that they only received what they received. They could have got everything and they didn't. So that's weird.
It's so bizarre. Yeah, that was like the weirdest thing ever. Like, and they were going to trade more to get that center from Charlotte than they were going to trade to get Luka.
Yeah. There's some type of collusion, which I don't think the NBA is going to really investigate it because they're happy to have a star like Luka at 25 in LA with LeBron. Like the marketability just is ridiculous.
Yeah, man, it's wild. It's wild. Yeah, I don't think you see that in the NFL, but yeah, I was like, wow, because I'm a LeBron guy because he's an Ohio guy, so I've always been a LeBron fan, so I kind of follow him wherever he's gone. Yeah. And I was happy, but I was like, how did this happen? Like, how do you that would be like the Chiefs trading Patrick Mahomes for like one pick and like one other player, and like in what universe would that happen?
No. Immediately, I think there would be riots. Like if this happened in the NFL as opposed to the NBA, because NBA fans they're not as fanatical as NFL fans.
Oh yeah, I know. Trust me, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, we got the draft coming up in about about 2 months from now. So hopefully everything turns around. Like I said, man, I because we talk so much about football, I kind of always keep my eyes on the Bears for you because again they're NFC, so they're not direct competitors to the Bengals. Yeah. So I look forward to it. So hopefully everything goes well in the draft. You got a stud in Roma Dunze. I think he's going to be a star. And like I said, you got a great head coach. So look forward to it. Curtis, it's always a pleasure to catch up, man. I always appreciate taking time and chatting with me. Like I said, you got one of the best minds the sport, and I was so excited. It's so funny when I thought you were still in Seattle. I texted your manager and I was like, "Oh crap, your fight's next week!" I completely forgot the fight just creeped up on me, and then obviously it got moved, so it kind of worked out better. So I always appreciate the time, man. Obviously, have a great rest of your training camp. Safe travels out to Vegas, and man, can't wait to see you back in action.
Thank you. I appreciate it as always.